Admit. All right. So today I'm gonna share my video. Sorry, share my screen. And today we'll be discussing digital photography. Okay, 24 January, basics of digital photography. Our project is due 28 February. Submission and discussion of photo you have taken. Okay. Instruction: choose a digital photography method, color, angles, or rule of thirds. Take your own photo and remember to frame it well and submit your best photo. So I just need one photo, but it should be the best. Okay, it should be the best photo. Okay, now can you see my screen?
Sir,
Yep.
I don't understand.
Later, it's okay.
Okay,
We
okay.
will discuss it. Ooh, I hope I have enough battery. Let me. Okay, I have enough battery. Uh, okay, so today we will be discussing digital photography. That means how do you use your phones to create really captivating photos? Okay, so first and foremost is your phone, your camera would actually have a frame. Okay, and frame is actually a basic and a very fundamental concept in digital photography. You will not be able to capture the whole thing. You will have to choose an aspect of the subject that you're trying to take a photo of. So what you need to do is to fill the frame with your subject and leave the distracting stuff out. You cannot bring everything. So I'm sure this is actually a very, very lively photo, and there's a lot of activities happening in the background. But the main focus really is the lizard, and they wanted to focus on that lizard. Don't be afraid to get a little bit close, okay? And so that you can actually see the intricacies and the beauty of the subject that you're trying to take a photo of. Use the focus lock feature. In your phones, there's actually a focus lock, and if you focus it here, there's actually a square that will appear, and then the other parts will actually be blurred, and that makes for an interesting photo texture. Press the shutter down halfway and use the rectangle to lock in on your subject before pressing it all the way down to take the photo. This will keep your subject in focus.
I use that for my picture trapeces to send to mom.
Oh, really? That's nice. Now, in terms of the sun, you have to be always behind the sun. You cannot be in front of the sun, because if you're in front of the sun, you will not be able to see the subject. Now, try to take the photos from different angles, above, below, and eye level. So this is, hold on, let's admit, who's that? Someone went in. Okay. So above, you can take different angles. So you can take the bird's eye view from above, below. So this is looking up looking up on above the looking up below the looking up above the flowers, and then this is actually eye level. So you may have to get down low to catch a great photo. So this one is you have to get on your tummy to take the photo on the right, and capture the flowers, and here where the husband and her actually stayed. And then look for unusual shapes and colors and textures. So, for instance, this school of fish, for instance, you would see actually a one orange fish there, and it makes for an interesting texture, right? And this one is a close up of the leaf. And this is a little bit more close up of the rocky, snowy ice or glacier. You have to pay attention to the horizon line in your background. Try to keep it eye level. So this is actually the horizon line. Okay, so it has to be eye level. Look for photo opportunities in reflections. So this one, they actually use reflections. There's a reflection of the building over there, and this one is a puddle of water, and then there's a reflection of a tower. And you can use a tripod if it's at night to rest your camera when you don't have a lot of natural lighting. You can use a tripod. And don't be afraid to take lots of photos, but choose only one. Do not be in a hurry. You have to take time to frame your shot thoughtfully. And when you're looking for beauty, the world becomes a more beautiful place. So practice seeing through the eyes of a photographer, and it can change the outlook of your life. Now let's go to another concept, which is color. So you can take the subject. So in our project, right, um, you can choose a digital photography method. So a while ago we looked at angles. So now we're going to be looking at color. So for color, this is a very colorful photo. There's blue and there's purple. Why do two colors put next to each other sing? Can we really explain this? No, Picasso. So make sure that you know your color wheel. What are the properties of color? Hue, intensity, value, and light. Okay, so hue is the name of the color. Intensity is the brightness and the dullness of the color. So if you see, these are both purple, but this is a more intense purple, and this is a less intense purple. And then you can look at the value, okay, lightness and darkness of a color. So take a look at the lightness and the darkness of the color. This one is light. It's all green. This is white actually, but it goes to the very dark green and then to almost pitch black green. What must be present in order for a color to exist? Light. So play with light. So how does color pertain to photography? One way to make yourself stand out from the crowd is to use color in ways nobody else thought of. So this is, look at that. There's actually a dirt here, GE, which is the same color as the car. And it makes for an interesting concept. And then you've got, this one is all red. And then there's actually a white line that sort of like connects to the bulb. This one is the freezer. It's actually featured in a museum, and what it does is it actually sort of gives you an overview of American freezer and how they store and use their freezers. It's very interesting. This one is how hair is actually uh, made, and a very unique bridge. I guess this bridge is built in the 1800s, alive to this day. And this one is a play of different colors. So you've got red and blue and yellow hue. This one is very good as well. It's a very good color. It has a dark, sort of like a dark feeling into it. This one is very interesting as well. You've got different blocks of things, and this one is just maybe a grandma sitting down on a blue chair on a red floor. This is this is froyo. It's interesting because there's a lot of colors and sprinkles, and it's just actually a very everyday thing, but it looks good. Then you've got photographies that are sort of red, blue, and green, and this one just takes a close up of a bubble. This is so this one is actually a rainy day in Barcelona, Spain, and it's a perfect way to convey rain. Um, it's not the typical sort of chaotic rain. Submit. Okay. But it still conveys rain. This one is I don't know if you know the season, autumn season. So yeah,
Kind of like fall.
yeah, it's fall. So this is oh, this is how beautiful. This is like a painting. When I used to live in London, and during the fall season, the whole area just changes into orange, and it's actually a very beautiful season, and the weather is perfect as well. And this conveys how the feeling of fall and how perfect the weather is during fall. But this one is a close up of fall, and this one is a little bit more of like a road less traveled, where you actually see different hues of green and changing into yellow, and eventually during winter this will be all gone. Okay, but now um, it's still fall. It's still very colorful. And then this is just a group of bottles that they took, but there's a contrast between the green tile uh, in front of it and then the blue bottles, which also makes for a good color combination. Then you've got just normal bottles that you drink, and because it's actually probably a lime juice or a lime water, and it looks really good. And then maybe you can take a group of flowers. This one is a close up of a group of flowers and a bundle of flowers, and it looks really great. And this one is just several aspects of one flower. Maybe this is a sunflower or a daffodil. I don't know what flower this is, but what the photographer did was it actually took he or she took a picture of several aspects of the flower. This one is a little bit more dark, and I think this is uh, maybe a sunset, uh, a time where it's already getting dark at a forest, and it's probably winter, and it's sort of capturing winter in a photo. And then you've got bricks. Some, there are really old roads and old bricks that sometimes people don't normally see, and this is an example of how the lines and the angles were captured and how old it was captured in a photo. This is very interesting because this is the old concept of a mailbox. Right now, I think your mailbox is right in your gate, right? But before, it's actually uh, sort of inserted in your door, and then they just sort of slide your mail in, and then it drops onto your floor. So this is sort of like that old purpley concept.
For newspapers.
Yeah, or newspapers as well. And this is essentially just a woman sort of dancing ballet, and what they do is they are she's sort of like comparing the color of the tutu with the sky, which is essentially the same color. It's actually a very, very beautiful texture as well because from light pink it moves into dark violet and in one screen. And I think this is a sample of a perfect photo if you're using color as your project. This one is a racetrack, and it just conveys the numbers and the straight lines. And then this is obviously a stop sign. Um, so there's actually a contrast between the color of the sky and the stoplight. This is actually a weird looking bike. I haven't ridden a bike like this before, but it's actually a tri bike for kids, and it makes for an interesting angle. So what it does is it actually took the angle from below and looking up to the sky. And then this is very high. I guess this was taken on the roof, but if you can imagine this one, this is probably a dead bird. And then this is just a juxtaposition of like a very, very classy lady and in in a sort of like a very basic neighborhood, and it makes for an interesting texture. Like the woman is very put together, but the roads and everything are just not put together. And then this is a very wonderful understanding of light because there's actually no light in the foreground, but there's a few spotlights in the midground, and then there's darkness again at the background. So, and then there's spikes over here, and and it just looks really awesome, and it gives you a certain kind of feeling. Okay, so that is for color. Next, we will discuss. You can choose color. We have already discussed angles. You can also use rule of thirds. Okay, so for rule of thirds, see if I still have battery. So what makes this image so powerful? Um, it's because it's actually not in the middle. Okay, it's actually put in uh, sort of like more flush to the right of the frame. So the rule of thumb is there's actually a rule of thirds in your screen. There's always you can divide your screen always in 9 parts. Okay, 9 equal parts and two equally spaced vertical lines. One, two, one, two. So when you take a picture of a person, you don't actually flush the person in the middle. You flush them to one side or the other, where the eye meets the point of your of your of one third of your frame. And so let's say this is the Statue of Liberty. It's already interesting. Just taking a picture of the Statue of Liberty like this, where the face of the statue is already in the middle of that third. But what you can do is you can actually do a focal point using the rule of thirds, where that point over there, which is the third right point, is where you actually put the head of the Statue of Liberty, and it makes for a more interesting um, photo. Now the PowerPoints, what we call the classy points, are these 4 points in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So what it means is that that's where you actually put the tree, or you put the head, and so if it's a square, where you actually overlap the tension points or points in the subject to that point over there. So like this is an interesting photo because the deer was actually flushed to the left, but on that one of the PowerPoints over here. This one is a very, very beautiful photo. I would say if you take a photo like this, I would give you 100%. This is a combination of angle. It's from below, and then there's color. There's so much color in here. There's yellow over there. There's blue. There's orange. There's texture. So there's an angle, and there's color, and there's rule of thirds, where when you divide the square into 3 equal parts, the it's actually the boat is actually on the lower part of that PowerPoint. So look at this. There's this child. So there's this child, and if the face is all just in the middle, it's not that interesting. But if you put the child a little bit more to the left, it becomes art. Same thing here. Um, I think both are not good, but because they just put the thing in the middle. But you could actually put this here, and it makes for a even more interesting photo. This one is a really good photo as well. I would probably put 95 in this photo just because it's not very colorful, but you can see the angles are just amazing, right? So they all coincided in the PowerPoints, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's a very good angle. It's a very nice photo. This one is another good photo as well. There's a contrast in um, the color of the floor of the road, and the yellow um, water. Oh, this one is a very, very good photo. I'll give this photo 100% as well, because you actually went close to the animal, and you can see that the eye is actually on the third part, upper left part of the PowerPoint, and the texture as well is there. The texture of the neck as well, and it's a very beautiful photo. Oh, this one as well. I could give this a 98%. The color is just amazing, and it uses a lot of angles, and the color contrast as well is very good. So that's it. So that is your project. If you have any questions, let me know. But choose one photo only. So submit one photo. 28th February is our
I
submission.
understand.
Yeah.
I
So
understand the homework now.
yeah. All right. So I'll see you when on the 28th. So think about it. Do not rush your inspiration. You need to be giving me a really, really good one. Because you would have taken maybe hundreds of photos, but you will only choose the best one, which is only the one photo. That one photo. Okay. So see you. Bye bye, and see you on the 28th.
When
Yep,
when is the deadline?
the deadline is 28th February.
Okay.
We will be discussing the photos, so submit it beforehand.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
So
gonna do it later.
can you send the assignment to me?
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay, bye bye. See you.
Bye.
Bye bye.